Hello and welcome to Original Soundchat, where video game music is a work of art. On each episode, it's our goal to help you learn about two soundtracks from the world of games, as well as the people, stories, and critical tracks behind them. My name is DeVader.
And I'm Peter Spezia. We're brought to you by Anonymous Dinosaur and Rhymes with Asia. It's time to appreciate great OSTs and the games that they come from, without getting too bogged down in music theory. Up first this week for our two games is 2015's Persona 4 Dancing All Night, the rhythm-based spin-off that throws the investigation team from Inaba onto the Midnight stage, where shadows can only be defeated through the power of dance.
Following that is a cross-country journey with the Phantom Thieves, working to take down monarchs, ruling jails, in a new Metaverse mystery, 2020's Persona 5 Strikers.
With the release of not one but two Persona games this week, granted, older Persona games brought onto modern platforms, it's fitting for another Persona week, this time with spin-offs.
And I finally, just in time, get to talk about how I replayed Golden last month, because I did the review for the Switch version for Nintendo World Report, which should also be up today at time of episode release.
Yeah, you've been busy playing a whole bunch of those Persona games, and neat to read your review on that one.
I'm excited for this one because I like the soundtrack of your game, even though I don't really like playing it, and also my game has a damn good soundtrack, so...
Yeah, I think for a show that talks about video game music, great to bring these two for sure. Joe, how are you doing? What are you playing?
Pretty much still just Eternal Punishment. I have made very little story progress since last we talked because I spent like 3 entire play sessions just grinding to try and get one thing to happen, and then it finally did. So, like 2 nights ago, I finally made story progress for the first time in days. But I think I'm like halfway through the game. Maybe. It's going.
Yeah, not too much to report on my end. Just trying to find time for games and try to figure out something new to start. I'm feeling the need to try something new. I'm wondering about Fire Emblem Engage. I don't know. We'll see. It's kind of in one of those rut times. Let's get right into talking about Persona spin-off games. Yeah, like you said, we were very eager to record this episode because these soundtracks are excellent. I know that Persona 4 Dancing All Night has also been in the works for a while as far as getting this game on this show. Been pushed back on a couple of occasions, but, when Persona 4 Golden and, along with it, Persona 3 Portable, coming to the newer platforms, I feel like that's a good time as ever to lock that in. So let's get to talking about Persona 4 Dancing All Night. The game was released on June 25th, 2015 in Japan for PlayStation Vita. Honestly, just as Persona 4 Dancing All Night. So they brought that over straight away. North America got the game on September 29th, and PAL regions got the game on November 6th, 2015. A port for PlayStation 4 was included as a digital copy with the Endless Night Collection. That was the special edition of 2 more Persona dancing games bundled together, and that was Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight and Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight. And this collection, these games, that was all released on December 4th, 2018.
Is it as weird to you as it is to me that those aren't on PC or Switch?
They seem like prime contenders, and I wonder if they've just been kind of forgotten and left on PlayStation platforms, or is there a exclusivity deal? I don't know. The game was developed by Dingo Inc., as well as Atlus's P Studio. And the publishing situation is a whole mess. It was published by Atlus in Japan, Atlus USA in North America, NIS America in Europe. Yeah, Nippon Ichi Software, huh? And Bandai Namco Entertainment in Australia. So all over the board there. Persona 4 Dancing All Night is a rhythm game where characters from Persona 4 dance to original and remixed songs from the franchise. The basic gameplay is derived from two other Sega rhythm franchises, Hatsune Miku Project Diva and Mai Mai. And basically, how to describe it, think of like a ring on the screen, and it kind of frames especially the left and right side of the screen to the point where there are three circular buttons. 3 circular buttons on the left and 3 circular buttons on the right sides of the screen. Essentially, there are visual indicators with these little circles for the up, left, and down D-pad arrow buttons on the left side of the screen, and then for triangle, circle, and the cross-face buttons for PlayStation on the right side of the screen. It's tough to describe, but I think that's the best I can do there. As each stage plays, circular notes will appear from the center of the screen and then move out towards those button indicators, requiring the player to hit the corresponding button in time with the music. There are some notes that require the player to hit 2 buttons at the same time or hold the button down for the duration of the note. In addition to the circular notes, blue scratch rings or rainbow-colored fever rings grow out from the center of the screen, and this requires the player to time the hit correctly by either one of 3 control options. You can either flick one of the analog sticks, you can swipe the Vita's touchscreen, or probably the PS4 touchpad, or, honestly, probably the easiest option, pressing either the L or R bumper buttons. The point of the game is you can progress through the story mode, which is sprinkled with set songs with set characters dancing into the narrative, or you can play any song with any combination of characters in the free dance mode. You collect in-game money by playing through songs to purchase new items, costumes, and accessories. Also, because it's a time of DLC, there are additional songs, costumes, and accessories that can be purchased as downloadable content. The story of Persona 4 Dancing All Night. Roughly a month following the epilogue of Persona 4 Golden, Rise Kujikawa, who has since returned to the idol industry, asks Yu Narukami and all her other friends to dance alongside her in the upcoming Love Meets Bonds festival. As Yu, along with Naoto Shirogane, join up with Rise at her dance studio and are introduced to fellow idol Kanami Mashita, they learn that Kanami's idol group, Kanamin Kitchen, has mysteriously gone missing. Looking into a rumor concerning a video that shows up on the Love Meets Bonds website at midnight, allegedly showing a dead idol, Yu, Rise, and Naoto check the video out themselves and are sucked into the Midnight Stage, a world separate from the TV world that they are used to. There, they discover a mysterious entity is using strange ribbons and a song to force shadows to form a bond with it, effectively brainwashing anyone who comes into contact with the ribbons. Unable to use violence in this world, the group discover that they can use the power of song and dance to express their feelings to the shadows, freeing them from the voice's control. Can Yu and his friends save the captured members of Kanamin Kitchen? What is this mysterious entity in the Midnight Stage? And what is the importance of the spellbinding song that the entity is playing? Joe, here's where I'll ask you, what are our experiences with Persona 4 Dancing All Night?
I played it many, many years ago on my roommate's Vita, where I borrowed his Vita long enough to play the story mode. I remember the story being really stupid until like the last hour when they put in some good stuff, but you gotta play through the... I'm glad that for the 3 and 5 rhythm games, they realized, oh right, our rhythm game doesn't need a story.
Yeah.
We could just make a rhythm game. It's fine. the bending over backwards of, well, how are we going to make a story out of them dancing? What is it going to be? It's so weird and dumb. The soundtrack is fantastic. I didn't super dig the gameplay, but part of me wants to give it another shot at some point because I don't actually remember why.
Yeah, I don't think I went on the harder difficulties, but it was fun enough for what it was. Yes, you're right, a ridiculous premise for the story, but decent production value in it. Just I think it was enough to the point where I think I played it twice. One on my Vita and then once on Vita TV just to try it on a bigger screen and to think that would help a little bit. So yeah, been through the story twice and still had to look up like the kind of details, especially at the end. Like, oh yeah, it was kind of coming back to me, but it's not the most memorable tale. Though you're right, the music is excellent and some great remixes in there, as we will surely get to when we talk about the music.
And it is really cool that in Persona 5 you can see Konami ads.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's also, it's cool to be able to recognize those alongside the Rise ads, which I did not notice the Konami stuff until my most recent playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
Either they weren't in the original and were added in Royal, or I just missed them completely in the original.
No, apparently they were in the original. It's just one of those neat little things that, like, if you know, you know. And if you don't, that's okay.
Well, like a lot of the stuff on the TV, I found out recently that there is a Persona 2 reference on the TV talking about one of the characters at one point.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of, like, just in references in that game, surprisingly more than you would expect.
Oh, yeah, and, like, Yukari's future career that is like only referenced in the Arena Ultimax game. It's like things like that. Yeah, it's really, really interesting there. Good little canonical world building, I guess. But the development of Persona 4 Dancing All Night starts with its announcement, oddly enough, because it was announced alongside Persona 5 and Persona Q Shadow of the Labyrinth during an Atlas event in Japan on November 4th, 2013. Yes, this is the Persona 5 reveal trailer that had a lot of red and black with chairs and iron chain and balls attached to those chairs and the phrase, "You are slave, want emancipation?" Yeah, they didn't show much of the actual dancing gameplay, but they sure did show a Persona 4 game where the characters are dancing. And had that little logo with Teddy show up. What a bunch of heavy hitters showing up in one little Atlas event. So at the time, the game was primarily developed by Dingo Inc., and they're noted for their work on the Hatsune Miku Project Diva series. But later in 2014, due to quality concerns, Atlas's P Studio team took over the main development, with Dingo being retained as a supporting developer. The game features multiple playable characters, including all 8 members of Persona 4's investigation team, along with Nanako Dojima and Margaret, who were playable for the first time from Persona 4, as well as Kanami Mashita, who is the new character from this game. Additionally, the Persona 4 character Toru Adachi and the Persona 4 Golden character Marie are available through downloadable content. Yes, you can get them and have them dance along to some songs. An additional DLC track features Vocaloid character Hatsune Miku as a playable character, though she's only voiced in Japanese. It's a pretty solid voice cast, all things considered, especially for the newer roles of the members of Kaname Kitchen. Cassandra Lee Morris, who would eventually play Morgana, is one of the members of Kaname Kitchen. And it's just like, oh, okay, that's interesting. It's interesting to note that Rise Kuchikawa in this game is played by Ashley Birch. And this was due to scheduling conflicts, which prevented Laura Bailey, who was Rise's previous actress, from reprising her role. Joe, any guesses on who plays Kanami Mashita?
I don't think I remember what Konami sounds like.
Would you look back one episode here to our discussion on Fire Emblem Fates, because Reina Strober is the voice actress of Kanami Mashita.
Huh.
Neat stuff like that. So like they did a pretty good job pulling together a good dub cast there. The game received fairly positive reviews with a Metacritic average of 76. The music was certainly the biggest highlight, and critics thought that the rhythm gameplay was generally fun, and it was good to have a story like this to frame the experience. However, some reviewers found the story to be disappointing overall, and found that there were generally other better portable rhythm game experiences. One more critical take said, quote, "The only thing that really feels fun is playing dress up with characters and their various outfits." Ouch. It's pretty impossible to find how many units this game sold. Apparently there's even no Wikipedia article for best-selling Vita games. But apparently it was successful enough for the team to work on other Persona dancing games. And it wasn't really winning any awards. It's a niche spin-off in a then niche franchise, so don't know really what you'd expect on that one. As far as the game goes, it does live on with the PS4 port. As you mentioned, Kanami Mashita shows up in a background poster cameo in the Shibuya train station in Persona 5. It's an advertisement for her newest single, Dropkick, that are on display, alongside an ad for Rise Kujikawa's newest album, Sapphire. Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight and Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight released simultaneously for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita in 2018, improving on the rhythm gameplay with characters from those respective installments in the Persona franchise. Though, also as you mentioned, it came at the cost of not having a fleshed out story mode like Persona 4 Dancing All Night had, but that honestly is probably for the best.
Yeah.
The composer that we'll highlight for this game is Ryota Kozuka. And Ryota Kozuka was born in Japan, but seemingly no birth date or blood type information available. He's a composer at Atlus, and he got his start on Persona and Shin Megami Tensei spin-off games. But recently, he's taken lead roles on the latest mainline SMT titles. He is sometimes referred to as Ryota Kozuka with an Ryouta, Ryota Koduka with a D there in the last name, or Atlus Kozuka. And you can follow him on Twitter at Ryotazaemon, Ryotazamon. His discography is interesting because Ryota Kozuka first started work contributing additional music to Persona 4. Notably, he wrote the Junes theme. Therefore, he is a legend. That's like his one writing credit on that soundtrack, with Meguro like taking care of everything else. He also composed for Trauma Team, Persona 2 Innocent Sin, Devil Survivor 2, Devil Survivor Overclocked, Devil Summoner Soul Hackers, Shin Megami Tensei 4, Persona 4 Dancing All Night, Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse, Persona 5, he had a couple songs there, Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight, Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight, and recently he was a lead composer on Shin Megami Tensei 5. The historical development research for Persona 4 Dancing All Night, it's most notable because of all of the talent that they brought in to work on remixes for Persona music. So the soundtrack was supervised and directed by series regular Shoji Meguro, with original compositions by Ryota Kozuka. And the game features over 30 tracks, including remixes of previous songs in the franchise by other musicians, such as Tetsuya Komuro, Daisuke Asakura, Shinichi Osawa, Towa Tei, Dede Mouse, Narasaki, Ban Vox, and a few names here that we've covered in the past, including Norihiko Hibino, who we talked about on episode 43 for his work on Yakuza Kiwami 2. Yu Miyake, who we talked about on episode 2 for his work on Katamari Damacy. Akira Yamaoka, of course, talked about him on episode 38 for his work on Silent Hill 2. And fan favorite Lotus Juice, talked about him on episode 19 for his work on Persona 3. So let's get to the 5 critical tracks. Let's hear some of these remixed Persona songs and some of the work from these remixers here. We have to start with this first track, though, and it is Dance. Dance is composed by Ryota Kozuka, and it is the opening animation theme where you get a bunch of those Persona 4 characters moving and grooving around. A very catchy dance pop tune with, of course, vocals by Shihoko Hirata, the vocalist that performs many tracks in Persona 4. Let's just say the vocalist of that game, like Linny Naizumi is for Persona 5. And yeah, it's just a really catchy tune. I don't think you hear it too often, but it's definitely one of those songs that catches your ear as you boot up the game. Certainly taking little melodic motifs, the da 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 da, really echoing off of Pursuing My True Self, the opening from Persona 4. So just kind of bringing it up in a peppy, lively, electronic-inspired tune, and it's really great.
This song absolutely rules. It's weird to say this for me. Man, if I ever have like a wedding reception or anything, this song's on the playlist. I will die for that. I will die for that. This song is so good. It has such a good groove to it. Even though I don't know the lyrics, it's fun to sing along to. I think this might actually be, of the 3 or 4 Persona 4 related OPs, I guess 5, if you're counting Arena, which I guess should. This might be like tied with Ultimax's opening for my favorite.
Yeah, I was just about to say Breakout of for Ultimax is like at the top, if not tied. And yeah, that's
like it's this and Breakout of that I think are the best two. Like Pursuing My True Self, good. Shadow World, good. Best Friends sure is a song that's good, I guess. But those two are top tier for sure.
Absolutely, and definitely more influences from Pursuing My True Self. With the rap, if you want to call it, Come On, Let Go of the Remote, Don't You Know You're Letting All the Junk Flood In, with Hirata there. But then also Lotus Juice drops a couple bars even before the chorus gets going, as you hear in the clip. So it's just a great song all around. And I think, hearing on a wedding dance floor sure would be something. A banger of a song, though, speaking of Lotus Juice, comes in at number 2 on the Critical 5. And this one is Backside of the TV.
To the basement, replacement goes as placement. Big bucks payment, I'm dirty like a slave man. Began to lose patience to these complacent successes who assesses rules that assassinate us like me. A lot of confidence but fall from vanity. Reason why I got a crew behind me, my family. Even if
Can we just have like more Lotus Juice all the time?
I mean, that's kind of what we got after this, to be fair.
That's true. What a song. Sometimes titled Studio Backlot, but Backside of the TV takes the tune from Persona 4, where you're in the kind of main waiting area in the TV world, kind of before you start to enter the castles, that game's palaces, what have you. But you have the kind of waiting area with your party. Great tune there, and then just only enhanced with Lotus Juice. That little what in there is certainly something. Wow, this one jams, and it's a simple tune from Persona 4, right? But to have it enhanced like this for a dancing game, I think it's just only the start of what you get to hear with this soundtrack.
Replaying Golden, I was reminded that Backside of the TV is secretly one of the best songs on the soundtrack. Just in general. This is the best version of it. I distinctly remember finding out that this song existed before because they put up a music video before the game came out as like promotion.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And I remember was it the Skype chat at that point?
Oh God.
I don't remember. I think it was Discord by then. I'm pretty sure. But I remember like posting, what do you mean Backside of the TV Lotus Juice remix? And like 3 of our friends were just like, what? And we all watched it. I remember being at Italian restaurant when I watched it on my break. And also, me and a friend of ours have this thing where every once in a while, one of us will just message the other with, who the richest? Mother Teresa. But they never listened to me. I don't know why I've latched on to that lyric in particular, but that's probably my favorite Lotus Juice lyric ever.
That's interesting considering how that may have aged. Interesting. Yeah, it's a banger. It definitely deserves to be here as the first remix that we mentioned. But as we get to some others here, let's get to another one that's brighter, colder, certainly. Because number 3 on the Critical 5 for Persona 4 Dancing All Night, this is Snowflakes. A very unassuming, slower song that plays in the winter semester of Persona 4 Golden. We did bring this original song up in our episode that covered this. That was episode 69 with Monster Prom. That was a good time.
That was so long ago.
Yeah, I know. But we did bring this song up then and mention how it's like, oh, it's really nice. It's really calm and peaceful. Like, just snowflakes falling. And then you get a dancing game and they had this, like, we're running in the 80s here. Like,
yeah, I was going to say this has a very 80s vibe to me, honestly.
100%. And it just totally changes the dynamic for the song. But you know what? It works. The song just totally fits in this new energetic vibe for it. And wow, is a great song. Just, it shows a new side of the snowflake, as it were.
So for this and literally any other Golden exclusive song that wasn't in the original PS2 version, I had not played Golden at this point when I played this game. This is the first place where I heard Snowflakes. This is the first place where I heard Time to Make History. This is the first. I didn't know where any of these songs were from because I hadn't played Golden and I hadn't gone and looked into its soundtrack for what it added.
You're like, what is a Shadow World?
Legitimately, I had no idea what Shadow World was. It was a song that came up and I played it. Obviously, now I know the originals very well, having played Golden twice now. I think I prefer the original, but yeah, it's really impressive that they can take like a really low-key, nice song and turn it into like a high-energy sort of 80s jam almost. It's very good. It's a very, very good remix.
And it's done by Nagasaki with the remix credit there. An interesting choice here for number 4, I think, not only for the remixer, but from where this song comes from. Number 4 on the Critical 5 here, this is Now I Know.
There are miracles waiting for me. I'll know when I walk the route we tread. And this wonders come, oh, what will become just a lot. Only I know, now I know. There are crazy hazards ahead, yeah. I don't really feel the thoughts I should. Now they're not ahead, unshakable faith that inside. Only the sky is shining bright just because
Now I Know comes from the ending credits theme for the story of Persona 4 Arena, the original game. And an interesting inclusion here in this game, as it's worked on by Yu Miyake. And so the Katamari maestro gets to flex a little bit here, weirdly turning this song into like dubstep after the chorus, and it just definitely takes a slow ballad and just kind of flips it on its head. Definitely one of the songs that I remember playing and enjoying, especially like the rhythm and the timing of this one. This one feels really good to play, I think, the track and its notes and all of that. So definitely it stands out, but not as much nostalgia because of where the song originally comes from.
Yeah, you actually just told me where the song comes from because I didn't remember. I don't remember anything about... I don't even remember how you roll credits in Persona 4 Arena, the original game. All of my memories of Arena have been replaced with Ultimax completely. Which I need to replay both of those story modes. I'm glad to hear that Arena, the original, is included in Ultimax, so
yes,
it's not lost to time. Miyake, sometimes you could just leave vocals alone. You don't need to warble them and do like weird stuff to them.
yeah, this little
like I get it's your thing to like make weird songs. I don't think it really works out in this one, honestly. I could see the beat and like all that being fun to play in game, but just listening to this song, I'm not a big fan of this arrangement, honestly.
I think the fitting song to wrap up this Critical 5, though, for Persona 4 Dancing All Night is the song that technically the game is all about, I guess. So this one here, this is Callistegia.
伝えることから逃げて大事にしなかった君のこと生まれてくるときは一人じゃないみんな同じなんだよね同じ時同じ気持ち分かち合ってくいつの日でも君からもらったこの花 I want to give it to people
Spoilers for an almost 8-year-old rhythm game.
I mean, you say that, but Atlas just put out a tweet today of like, make sure you mark Persona 4 Golden and Persona 3 Portable spoilers.
Yeah.
It's like these games came out when I was in high school.
But at least you can stream them all without repercussions, so I guess there's that. So, Callistegia is kind of the linchpin for this entire game, because it is the haunting, spellbinding melody that takes place on the midnight stage. It's got something to do with an idol who committed suicide, and this song, Callistegia, was written for her. And the melody is the song Callistegia slowed down and reversed. Ooh. And so the first time I think we ever hear the actual song in its full context is the credits theme. And because it's an original tune, it is composed by Ryota Kozuka and performed essentially in universe by Kanami Mashita. So it's not the most interesting song. It's just a kind of peppy J-pop song. Nothing too special, but it's pretty important to the game. So here it is.
I like this song a good deal. It's just a anime ED.
Yeah, yes, essentially.
Like
yeah.
that's just all it is. I can picture like several ED archetypes happening to this song. Like this is the ending song of a slice of life anime.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
That's what it is. I like the song a lot. I like the tone of it. As somebody that watches a lot of slice of life stuff, it's I don't know. This is a nice song. Not one of my favorites, but it's pretty good.
For tracks on the cutting room floor, we each have 2. Of course we do. It's Persona week. We're going to have some thoughts on Persona tracks. So, Joe, you have 2. Hit me with them.
Well, the first one gives us a lesson because it is time to make history. You know I had to bring this one. Not just because it is a banger, and the first version of Time to Make History I ever heard, but this remix in particular is by none other than Silent Hill composer Akira Yamaoka, one of my favorite composers personally. And this song rules. Time to Make History is, of course, the regular battle theme of Persona 4 Golden, the non-sneak attack theme. And this just takes an already energetic song and ratchets it up like 6 levels. And it's fantastic. I love this remix.
Yeah, Yamaoka definitely works with the drum and bass on this one. I personally prefer the original, but I can see what he's doing with this one and appreciate it, and definitely kind of turn up those frequencies a little bit for this one. Yeah, it had to be here for you. I agree.
I want to give a shout out to Maze of Life, which I did not put on here, even though I like that song because it's not a remix.
Oh, that is in this game, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah, I was surprised to find, because I had played Q at that point, and I was very excited to find Maze of Life in there. Sadly, Light the Fire Up in the Night is not, but what can you do? My other one, from what I can tell, it doesn't sound like it's actually in the game, but I love this remix so much, and that is Signs of Love Funky Home Remix. So there are 3 tiers of Signs of Love. There's the original, which is this nice, relaxing, feels like home song. Then there's the reincarnation version, which is a swing song for some reason.
Big band jazz. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's really good. And then there's this, which is like just taking the big band jazz and turning it sort of electronic and making it even more energetic and dance-worthy. And I love this version of the song. Signs of Love is already one of my favorite songs in Persona 4, and every version of it that comes out is great.
Yeah, I agree. This one is remixed by Ryota Kozuka, and it's different than the Tetsuya Komuro or the TK remix that is used as one of the game's main tracks. And so this is on the Advanced CD album release. I can't really remember if it's like, is it there as an unlockable song or a downloadable content song? It's just not the main take on Signs of Love in the game, but you're right. It's Kozuka kind of plunking on some synthesizers there a little bit and kind of turning the song a little more in that direction. It is, as he says, funky. For my 2 tracks on the cutting room floor, I feel like it's fitting to start with this one. This is Pursuing My True Self. Also remixed by Ryota Kozuka. It's known as the Atlas Kozuka remix. This is a take on the opening theme of Persona 4. And you kind of hear a lot of the da-da-da-da-da-da or da-da-da-da-da. Like, all of those melodies come from this original song. But neat to hear this take on it. I also like the bit at the end of the clip where it's a little bit, there's some vocal affectations going on there. It's a neat take on this and gives it some bounce, whereas the original theme has kind of, I think, lost some luster over the years as we hear more and more Persona music, but this one breathes some good life into it.
Oh, I still prefer the original to this, honestly. I still like this. For some reason, the clip, hearing it just now, my first thought was like, sounds like something that a race in Initial D would play to during like a dramatic moment or something. I don't know why that comes to mind. This isn't Eurobeat, obviously. But yeah, that's all that comes to mind. I really like Pursuing My True Self, and a lot of the stuff that's branched out of it, like Dance earlier, is very good, and this is no exception.
The other one here, though, this song means a lot to me, honestly. The other one here on the cutting room floor, for me, this is Dance Hymn of the Soul, Disco in Velvet Room. If you turned on my PlayStation Vita, what song would be coming out of it on its main menu? This song. This song with a Persona 4 Dancing All Night theme that was downloaded for the Vita corresponds with this song. And of course, it is the Aria of the Soul tune that is used throughout the Persona series, originally composed by Shoji Meguro. This take on it, a little dancey disco-y pop arranged by Ryota Kozuka. And yeah, I don't think there's really much context of where it plays in the game. It's on the soundtrack, but for me, it's always going to be that Vita theme, baby, and it's a catchy one. Gotta love this tune, and this is a good take on it. Though there's also an Electronica of the Soul, or Electronica in Velvet Room take on it as well, with a different sort of interpretation of it.
I think the Electronica in the Velvet Room is specifically a bonus track from the original Persona 4's soundtrack release, if I remember correctly.
That sounds right, yeah.
Because I think 3 has like blues in the Velvet Room or something. It seems to be tradition that it kind of sounds like Persona 5 might have broken. But it was tradition to have like a new genre take on Hymn of the Soul on every album, like as a bonus thing or something. And it only makes sense that they would do one for a rhythm game. So, and it works out. It's good. I have a small problem with how the vocals are mixed. Please put the levels down slightly. But other than that, like, yeah, no, it's very good.
I'm really sad now that we don't have an acid jazz of the soul. Oh man, that's just sad. What will I never forget about Persona 4 Dancing All Night? Yeah, some of these remixes, honestly, Backside of the TV is one that definitely jumps to mind. The fact that I played a bad story in a rhythm game twice and still don't remember much of it. I love Persona 4 and its characters and its world so much that I just gobbled up all those spin-offs. And this is one of the weirder ones for sure. I still bought the endless collection of P5 and P3 dancing and never played it. So maybe there's some time to go back and play those. But yeah, Persona 4 dancing it's a game.
If those come out on PC, I will probably buy them.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I don't know if I want to buy them on PS4. So I was talking to Matt the other day and like was talking about like, I would really like to own all the Persona games on one platform, and PC's looking like that's going to be the place for that to happen currently, because they've got Ultimax, and they've got now 3, 4, and 5. And actually, that's it right now. But they will soon, one day, I assume these will show up on PC at some point. Then think of the mods.
Oh, I know. It's going to be so good. With the way Atlas is going, yeah, it would not surprise me.
I just pictured a mod replacing Nanako with Dojima during the Juness. So
yeah, or like Shrek. Shrek could easily be in there.
Put Goku in there. I want it so bad.
Well, speaking of the Juness theme, to transition to our next game, I'd like to highlight a fan cover, fan remix, whether it's on YouTube, OC Remix, wherever. Look, for a game that's all about Persona 4 remixes, you're not necessarily going to find a remix of a remix, although I guess I could have found someone performing Calisthesia, I suppose, or dance. But you know what? It's too perfect for Ryota Kozuka's original composition contribution to Persona 4 when there is a track titled Juness Theme Vocal Version that adds lyrics to the Juness song. Oh, amazing. It is, of course, composed by Ryota Kozuka and arranged by it. In the clip, I guess the translation, since it's in Japanese, kind of comes out to, ever since our young days, Juness has been there, waiting for us with plenty of goods. Everyday young life, Junesu. Yes, it's so good. So please enjoy, and we will be right back.
子犬を連れたヒョウ柄おばさん就活手スーツヤングな頃にヤングな頃からジュネスは一緒いろいろ揃えて待ってます Everyday young life ジュネス
All right, let's pull out our knives and our masks and our whips, and let's talk about Persona 5 Strikers, which was released February 20th, 2020 in Japan for Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 4. There it is called Persona 5 Scramble: The Phantom Strikers.
Oh yes, P5S.
Yep. We'll get to that. It was released for those platforms and PC worldwide on February 23rd, 2021, which almost seemed like it wasn't going to happen. I remember at one point, because it took a really long time for them to announce anything about this game coming to America. And at one point, I think people noticed that they had taken it off of their future plans thing at a shareholders meeting, and people were like, oh, so I guess we're just not getting it. Awesome.
I mean, it's a long time to get a game after a year. Yeah, wow.
It was developed by Omega Force and P Studio and published by Sega. I kind of forgot that dancing happened before Sega bought Atlas.
Yeah.
That's weird to think about. I forgot there was a time when that was the case.
I think Sega did some of the publishing for Dancing All Night for the PS4 version, like in Europe, but yeah, the original game, well before.
So, what is Persona 5 Strikers? It is a fusion of the Persona 5 formula, characters, and level design, but instead of the turn-based combat that you see in a regular Persona game, you have the gameplay of Koei Tecmo's Dynasty Warriors series of Musou hack-and-slash games. We've talked about two of those on this show, one being Hyrule Warriors back at episode 129, and the other being a couple episodes ago being One Piece Pirate Warriors 4. And, of course, if you don't know what Musou is, it's basically action gameplay defined by fighting large crowds of enemies with big, flashy hack-and-slash attacks. Dungeons play exactly the same as they do in the original game, including being able to sneak attack shadows from hiding spaces. The crowds of enemies only show up after you make them show me your true form, that thing. And that's when the real-time action combat begins. Every Phantom Thief is directly playable, except for Violet, who does not appear in this game, and this game's story actually implies that Royal is not canon. Because this is a canon sequel, according to Atlas, and the way Royal ends makes this game impossible. So, there's that, but also, like, Violet is not mentioned at any point, so it just didn't happen, I guess. I don't know. But there are 2 brand new members of the Phantom Thieves as well, one being an AI named Sophia, and the other being a spoiler. The party is made up of Joker and 3 other members, and you can switch between all 4 of them at any time during the fight. And while the game does continue to use Persona 5's calendar system, it's more on rails. It's more there for show this time. There's no real time management in Persona 5 Strikers. In place of confidants, there are requests from your various teammates, which are just side quests that can be done either outside of dungeons or in them. So something like Makoto will ask you to help her find a specific enemy so she can beat the crap out of it for research or something. Or Futaba will ask you to go buy something for her in town or something like that. But you also have a bond stat that can be increased through various means, one of which being the requests, as well as just being in battle with them. And the higher the bond level you have with a party member, the more bonuses that teammate will get during battle, like stat bonuses and stuff like that. The story of Persona 5 Strikers. 4 months after the events of Persona 5, Joker and Morgana return to Tokyo in order to spend summer break on a camping trip with the Phantom Thieves gang. When Joker, Morgana, and Ryuji travel to Shibuya in order to buy supplies for the trip, they encounter an up-and-coming idol named Alice Hiragi, who gives them her keyword for the new virtual assistant/social media app, Emma. When they input her keyword, they suddenly find themselves transported into the Metaverse, specifically a twisted version of Tokyo. Shadows in this new realm are stealing desires from the people who input Alice's keyword, turning them into rabid Alice fans, something she appears to be using to bolster her fame. When the trio are captured, they meet Alice's shadow, who dumps them into a trash heap. In that trash heap, they encounter a young-looking girl calling herself Sophia, humanity's companion. When they finally escape, it's revealed that Sophia is an AI who has made her home on Joker's phone. Unable to overlook Alice's misuse of the metaverse, the Phantom Thieves of Hearts are reinstated. The new type of realm is named a jail, with the shadow in charge named the Monarch, and they begin their operation to change Alice's heart and return the people's desires. Outside the metaverse, they are also approached by Zenkichi Hasegawa, a police officer from Kyoto, currently investigating various bizarre mass behavior changes in people all over Japan, including the newly rabid fans of Alice Hiragi in Tokyo. Begrudgingly, unable to tell if they can trust him or not, the Phantom Thieves agree to work with Zenkichi, changing their planned camping trip into an RV trip across Japan in order to find jails and defeat their monarchs, all while attempting to find the source of this new metaverse threat. So the questions, of course, are, what are the origins of jails? How is the Emma app related to their appearance? Where did Sophia come from? And why does she seem to have amnesia? And can the Phantom Thieves trust Zenkichi? This is where I will ask, Peter, what are your experiences with Strikers?
I have not played this game yet. And even I know, of course, you can't trust anybody. It's ridiculous. So I think it's a shame that I haven't gotten around to this yet. Though I do have it for PlayStation 4 because it was a PS Plus game during 1 month. So that was a good time right there. So maybe this is a game I need to get to next, or maybe I wait until my fiance is playing through her run through of Persona 5 Royal, and then we play this apparently canon sequel, because I really enjoy Musou games, and I love everything about Persona 5. And I believe it was me that turned you on to this soundtrack when we were bringing up our best of 2021 list. And I had it like number 2 on my list. I think, what did it end up like number 4 or something like that? But it's like, yo, this soundtrack though. And of course you were waiting to play the game. It made sense, but this soundtrack for real though.
I bought this game on PC like launch day and then didn't play it until the beginning of last year, of 2022. It's pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot. The story is not as good as the original game, but I think the character interactions are fun and overall, like, just interacting. I like hanging out with the Phantom Thieves. They're just fun. They're a fun group to, like, watch do things. It's good. Gameplay, the combat is really fluid and nice, as one would expect from a Muso title. And just, in general, I think it flows pretty well. It's obviously not as long as the original Persona 5 either, thank God. But, yeah, it's very fun. I think it would have been, like, pretty high in my top 10 had I played it in 2021 when it actually came out here. Something I didn't mention earlier about Emma, by the way, is apparently Matt's the one that told me this. She is voiced, her voice, because she's a virtual assistant app. She is voiced by the original voice of Siri.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's really cool. That's a really cool, at least in English she is. That's a cool touch, I think. So I didn't find a ton of stuff on the development of this game, but one thing that did kind of surprise me was that apparently Strikers began development very early. In fact, pretty much around the time the original Persona 5 came out in Japan. So this game started production in 2016, so they must have already kind of assumed it was going to sell well. I assume they didn't think it was going to be as big of a hit as it was. If I had to guess, they probably assumed along the lines of how big a hit Golden was, which was fairly big, but it wasn't Persona 5 big.
Yeah, no. And it makes sense why they would continue the story off from the original if they were kind of developing it just after, so.
Mm-hmm. At that time, the game was being made under the working title Persona Warriors, which can you imagine if they kept that title? I'm glad they changed it. As you alluded to earlier, it was originally teased as Persona 5S, which when that was announced, the initial thought was Persona 5 Scarlet.
On Switch!
Yeah, people thought it was going to be Persona 5's Golden and that it would be on Switch and that all this. And obviously, we got that eventually with Royal, but...
Yeah, P5R and P5S at the same time, yeah.
And I think Q2 was in there at some point, too. Close to it, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Localization, one of the reasons why it took so long to come out here, is because COVID-19! So recordings with the English cast had been set to begin in April of 2020, and then in March of 2020, the world ended. And eventually they just sent the actors equipment to their homes, and all of the English vocals in the game were recorded from each actor's specific home studio. Which you can't even tell. It still sounds fine. The game reviewed pretty well upon release. PS4 is the highest rated version at 83. PC is the lowest rated version at 76. If you're curious, the Switch is at 81. I don't know why the PC version would be rated so low. It worked fine for me. Critics did agree that while the story does not hit quite as hard as the original, the game is still oozing with Persona 5 style, and they also praised the game's fluid and satisfying action combat. So it sold over 162,400 copies in its first week being released in Japan. PS4 was the highest selling version. It was the best selling retail game of the week, and the Switch version was the second highest selling physical title of that week. I remember them talking about how, oh man, the Switch version didn't do as well as we thought it would, and everybody in the world was like, yeah man, Persona 5's not on the Switch. You're surprised that people bought the sequel on the thing that they already owned the original? What? Yeah. Duh. In the US, it was the third best-selling game of February 2021 behind Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury and Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, which if it can stand up to those two, that's not bad.
Yeah, honestly.
As of June 2021, according to Atlas, it has sold over 1.5 million copies worldwide and who knows where Persona goes from here? This was I believe, this and Royal were the last two major Persona releases.
Mm-hmm.
So, who knows? Could it be Persona 6? Could it be the now rumored remake of Persona 3? Re-releases of Persona 1 and 2 that should happen regardless? Why aren't those on Switch 2? You have PSP versions of those, Atlas. Another Persona 5 spin-off? I could see that. Only time will tell where we are going from here, but Atlas has been kind of mum on the future of the Persona franchise as far as telling us literally anything.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see them do this kind of, take the survey and then let's bring 3 and 4 in its supposed best versions to modern consoles. It may be a long time before we have a Persona episode or even a Persona week or whatever. So let's put it in stone. What do you think gets announced next?
That's a hard question. I'm going to put my guess on we will see both 6 and 3 remake before they even mention 1 and 2 in any breath whatsoever. I have a friend's anecdote to assure me that a producer at Atlas, does remember that those games exist, which is surprising to me because I figured they'd just been culled in the Purge. So they know that those games are real, but those games have never sold well here because they've never been given a fair shake. So I think 6 is next, but that we're getting a lot of rumors about a remake of 3, so who knows?
It is interesting to see that smoke for sure. I'll throw my hat in the ring for Persona 5 Arena. I don't know. Arxis has been a little quiet. What are they doing?
I mean, we know that game existed at some point, or something like it existed, because it was leaked alongside Joker's Smash stuff. So who knows? The composer we're going to focus on for Persona 5 Strikers is Gota Masuoka, who was born on December 23rd, 1992, a mere 3 days after me.
What?
Literally.
That's wild.
I don't like knowing that. In Minato, Tokyo, Japan. And literally all the information I could find on this man is that he's one of the in-house composers for Koei Tecmo. That's all we get. In terms of his discography, he has done music for Samurai Warriors 4 Empires, as well as Samurai Warriors Spirit of Sonata, Romance of the Three Kingdoms 13. He's done 3 Dynasty Warriors games, being Godseekers, Warriors All-Stars, and Dynasty Warriors 9, Blue Reflection, Berserk and the Band of the Hawk, obviously Persona 5 Strikers, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, he was one of the people on the music for that game, and his most recent release is a game I've never heard of called Token Rambu Warriors. I assume that is a Japanese property that is not known over here.
I feel like a lot of Warriors games, you can just kind of plug and play the Muso and do some tweaks to cater it to the franchise.
Seems to be the case, honestly. So for the soundtrack of Strikers itself, it was done not only by Masuoka, but by Atsushi Kitajo, whom we talked about in episode 79 for his work on Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. He was the sole composer from Atlas, while Masuoka and Ayana Hira came into the music team from Koei Tecmo. And of course, as expected, because this is a Persona 5 game, plenty of vocal performances by the one and only Lyn.
Yay!
You can also get additional music from Persona 5 in-game by having save data from Persona 5 or Persona 5 Royal on your PS4, or, because neither of those games existed on the Switch, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
That's great.
So they really had to, bend over backwards for that one. So, this soundtrack absolutely rules. It's super cool. It's super good. Let's get right into it with our 5 critical tracks. The first one, there's no better place to start than You Are Stronger.
Go and do it like that.
You Are Stronger is the opening of Persona 5 Strikers, plays before the title screen. It's also a leitmotif you can hear in a couple other places in the soundtrack, particularly in one place that we'll talk about when we get to Cutting Room Floor stuff. It's great. It's very good. I think I would rank this second of the 3 Persona 5 intros.
I would agree with that, actually.
But then I'm like, but then which one is number 1? Is it, I think Wake Up, Get Out There is number 1 with Colors Flying High number 3. All 3 very strong examples of music. But this one I think is a very, very solid number 2. It is a fantastic song. It's got one hell of a catchy melody. The lyrics are nice, and Lynn is killing it as always, which you're going to hear a lot of tonight.
Yeah, what a great way to start this off. This also kicked off our Critical 5 when we brought this game to Best of 2021. So a good one to include. Nice to have, of course, the influence of the acid jazz from Persona 5, but then you hear the electric guitars come in, which are a little more of the Dynasty Warriors, the Musos. You kind of get that instrument infused in there. It's a real nice blend, and something about that pre-chorus just always gets me. It's been real catchy in my head the last week.
And this one was done by Atsushi Kitajo. Most of the music was apparently done by the Koei Tecmo group, so Masuoka and Hira, but Atsushi Kitajo did do a couple of the tracks on this Critical 5, so there you go. He's still in there. Critical track number 2. I don't know what to say about this song. It's just awesome. It's Daredevil. So not only is this one of the first songs you hear in the entire game, there are 3 stages to infiltrating a dungeon. There's the regular dungeon, which has its own regular music, and then there is the push to get inside the fortress in the middle, which is when Daredevil plays. And then the one to go up and fight the boss is Life Will Change. So that stays, at least. But, oh my god. Daredevil is so good. It is such a hype song. This one is probably the most fun to sing along to, even though you look up the lyrics and you're like, that's not how you pronounce those words, but I'll forgive you for now. I adore this song. There are like 3 songs that fight to be my favorite song in the game, and this is one of them. It's just fantastic.
Just incredible, and a good example. And like, this is Gota Masuoka, like a way to bring a Persona hype song. So good. When you have Shoji Meguro from the original Persona 5 showing you how it's done, and like, yeah, this is excellent.
Yeah, that's the most surprising part, is it's not even somebody from Atlas that did this.
Yeah, it's truly astounding, and you're right, a totally fun song to jam out to and sing. I also have to mention that outside of the clip here, there's a part right before a guitar solo bridge. Lynn belts out this note that gets EQ'd and all that, but like hits this crazy high, just really hitting it with her chest. And it's just, the vocal talent she has is amazing. And it's just a great, great song all around. So difficult to pick 30 seconds.
Yeah, this song rules. Critical track number 3, there are a few battle themes in this game, but the one that is original to this game and very, very good is Axe to Grind.
Out of my sight, for your position's tragic. Day and night, searching all around, up and down. Don't throw for empty words, wasting away hours. Closing like something you're not. Ways of thought, go find an extra grind. I take hers, but not of mine.
This is more Atsushi Kitajo in there. This sounds a little bit closer to original Persona 5 music, but oh my god, it's so catchy. This song is another one that feels really good to sing along to, but just in general, you have the hard rock of Daredevil, but then you have this song that's just like jazz. It's all jazz.
We turned the swing dial up to 11 here.
Yeah, it is impossible to not tap your foot to this song. I am conflicted about which battle theme I like more. I don't know what decides which one plays. I don't think it's split between sneak attack and non-sneak attack like it is in Royal. I don't think. But I don't know for sure. I just know that this one is the one that plays more often.
Interesting. I'm really excited to hear this in context while playing the game because this just sounds fun.
So, obviously, when you make a game like this, you're going to bring over some songs from the original game, especially when it's a soundtrack like Persona 5 that is just classic. And there are a few like that. There's a very good version of Keepers of Lust, which I very much dig, that adds like a whole guitar part that wasn't originally there. There is a mad version of Rivers in the Desert that is not as good as the original, unfortunately. And then there's one that'll be on the cutting room floor here in a bit. But then there is the one that I think got the biggest glow up of any of them. And that is critical track number 4. This is Blooming Villain Scramble. Blooming Villain is not even among my top 15 songs in Persona 5. I think it's fine. It's a fine boss theme, but it's not one that I would jump to listen to. This might actually be my favorite song in Persona 5 Strikers. Taking the instrumentation, making it way heavier, upping the tempo a little bit, just turns this song into an incredibly cool song. Everything about it is better in every way than the original. And it even gets a really, really cool, like, intro that is what plays when the boss is transforming into their big shadow boss form. It's really, really good. This version of Blooming Villain made me like Blooming Villain a lot. It's astounding.
Yeah, an incredible glow up, pushing the electric guitars full tilt, and then you still hear, like, the string accents in there just to round it out. It feels so good, especially when it kicks in to the chorus, and just a really impeccable job here, because you're right. Blooming Villain, a good boss theme, but compared to so many of the other tracks from the original Persona 5, okay, it gets lost in the mix. I can totally understand why this really makes the case for its scramble version.
I literally, when replaying Royal, remembered that this isn't how the regular song sounds and got kind of disappointed when I got to Kamoshida.
Yeah, can we get like DLC to mix it into the soundtrack? Like, what gives?
Even though I kind of agree with Matt when I told him that, and he was like, yeah, the scramble version is like better in every way, but the original fits better for a turn-based game. And I was like, I'll begrudgingly agree with you.
Yeah, especially when it kind of drops to the low bass and the bop bop, like it's okay, all right, okay.
But this fits for an action game. Oh, this version's so good. And the third song that constantly fights for the first place spot in my heart, critical track number 5, is Counter-Strike.
Counter-Strike, and it always fighting for no. Being a devices, not what you signed up for. Welcome back to your game show.
This is another original battle theme composed by Gota Masuoka. This is Striker's equivalent to Rivers in the Desert. In fact, it's a 2-phase boss fight, and in phase 1, Rivers in the Desert plays. So, and it's this, like, kind of disappointing moment of, like, this version's not as good. It kind of sucks that they're just reusing Rivers in the Desert. And then you get to phase 2, and this song starts. And you're like, never mind, this is awesome. It is maybe at least my favorite Lin song, I think. Something about this, it's not even like a high energy boss theme or anything, but it has this vibe to it. And especially like the lyrics fit pretty well with the boss that you are fighting. This song makes that fight cool. It's a fine fight otherwise, but this song like dials it up to 11. It's awesome.
I don't know, hear in the back half of the clip that it really starts to pick up the energy and turns into a really hype, exciting piece, which is super neat. Because yeah, the beginning of it is just this slow, cool jazz. I wish the clip could have been longer, because the first time that the vocals hit with Counter Strike, like, oh, it just comes out of nowhere, like, oh, I didn't expect that, but I'm here for it. And then, yeah, you just turn it into this jam. Wow. Again, I want to hear it in context. I'm really glad that, you playing the game, like, helped discover, more tracks that are just primo selections here, cream of the crop, that go with the context of playing the game. And yeah, a different Critical 5 mix-up than we had on Best of 2021. And
yeah, when neither of us had played it yet.
Yeah, and more time, more context, and more experience, like, helps refine the list. I totally dig that.
So for tracks on the cutting room floor, we actually got the couple that were on the Critical 5 that are not here anymore, as well as I have 2 as well. So, Peter, you're up.
I'll take the 2 that got cut. And the first of these is one that played at the Game Awards, which is wild. This is Last Surprise, Scramble.
You is not what you forgot. You never see it coming. You see that my mind is too vaporized. You're done. By the time it teaches your last surprise.
Yeah, remember that? When Jeff Keighley's like, let's go to Tokyo for a performance, and then it's Lin.
If I remember correctly, that's how they announced the game was coming out in North America finally.
Ah, yeah. I think it's wild stuff for sure. And so, yes, Last Surprise, Scramble is a take on the Persona 5 enemy battle theme. Just a great take on a great song, but especially great because it is arranged by Masayoshi Sasaki, or Masa, the composer that we talked about a couple weeks ago for One Piece Pirate Warriors 4. Of course, the Shoji Meguro original, but Masa on this one. And yeah, it's the second of the regular battle themes along with Axe to Grind. Not a bad mix-up to get this one as well, honestly, because yeah, it's just a nice, peppier, more action track.
Last Surprise does not feel like a song that would fit very well with the tempo jacked up. But I think this version's really, really good. I think I still prefer the original a little bit more. But this version absolutely slaps. It's awesome.
The other one kind of goes a little more towards the end game, and this one is Demiurge 2, Nagai. Another track composed by Gota Masuoka, and it is part 2 of the final boss. really liked this track when we were kind of whittling down our original Critical 5 for best of 2021. Not only because of its place in the game as a final boss track, but it's a nice blend of like bringing in piano with the energy of this track, and then you get the kind of the guitar breakdown there. It's a nice piece that just kind of gets you, I would imagine, hyped up for that final encounter.
And it does, at a certain point, use the leitmotif of "You Are Stronger."
Well, there you go.
At a certain point in the song, which is very, very nice to have in terms of like sort of a full circle feeling. For my tracks of the cutting room floor, I have 2 dungeon themes, actually, because I think some of the dungeon themes in this game are very, very good. I do want to give a shout out to one that is not on here because it just barely missed being the Alice's jail, the Tokyo jail, being the Wonderland song is absolutely fantastic. But for my 2 favorites, the first one is cutting room floor track number 1. This is Counterfeit Phantom. So the dungeon themes appear to, for the most part, be composed by Ayana Hira. Both of my tracks are composed by them. This is the music for the Kyoto jail. And of course, it is a rearrangement of Life Will Change, but with sort of traditional Japanese instruments. Because the whole dungeon is sort of based around an older looking Japanese city and that kind of thing. It is probably one of the more disappointing dungeons because of its boss, unfortunately, because its boss, it starts and you're like, oh my god, this might be the hypest thing ever, and then it ends and you're like, oh, never mind, it was nothing. Okay. But this music in the dungeon itself is very, very good, I think, especially when it gets into the chorus. I dig this piece a lot, and it's not a style of arrangement I expected.
Yeah, nice to hear this instrumentation in this game, especially if you're going to different Japanese cities and kind of, infiltrating these dungeons there. That's nice to hear, and good to hear that Ayana Hira gets that section of the soundtrack. Good to hear just, a variety on top of the great Persona music that we know. This is still good, but it's different.
My favorite dungeon theme, though, and I really don't know how it became my favorite, but just every time I listen to it, it's hype. This is Anti-Hero. This is the music for the Osaka jail, which is like this high-tech sci-fi city that is heavily inspired by superheroes and tokusatsu stuff. And this song, like just these heavy synths, they feel like they'd be a lot during a dungeon, but oh my god, this song feels so good to listen to. I don't know how else to put it. It's extremely simple, but something about it just has this hype feeling for me, and I dig this song a lot.
This is wild. It bumps so hard, and I didn't, again, you don't expect anything like this. I think that's interesting to think about, when playing this game, like what kind of music are you going to get next for this area of Japan? And that's really cool to hear. And I think I prefer this over Counterfeit Phantom, but yeah, wow, nice inclusion.
So what will I never forget about Strikers? I mean, it's fun. Story's fine. It's not going to blow anybody away, and you might forget certain parts of it within a month, but It's overall fun, and the writing of getting to see the Phantom Thieves do stupid stuff is still there. One moment that I remember as clear as day because I took a screenshot of it the instant it happened was, I don't remember where they're going, but they're on a boat and Yusuke's on all fours and Futaba's standing on his back in a T-pose. And the cop is just, Zenkichi is just standing in the, like, background, and his dialogue is just, you guys are so stupid. And it's great. That's the game. That's the crew. I absolutely adore it. And also getting to see, like, because they go to a bunch of very prominent Japanese locations. I will say I kind of respect their restraint, because none of those locations are Tatsumi Port Island or Inaba, which they totally could have done Tatsumi Port Island, to be perfectly honest. It would have fit perfectly. Inaba, probably not. But they absolutely could have done either one of those, and I am actually kind of glad that they stuck with, like, real-life locations in Japan. I think it gives it a little bit more flair and lets them show off their country a little bit more outside of it. So I dig that aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. I am really excited to play this now. So kudos for selling it, and I need to get on this. Might be next. Who knows?
Yeah, it's good. I think you will enjoy it.
Persona Week delivers, I think. We've been looking forward to talking about these games for quite some time, and I think a perfect opportunity to bring these up if we're not busy playing Persona 3 Portable and Persona 4 Golden, although you've been definitely busy with Golden there.
When I get back from my trip, I'm actually going to start streaming Persona 3 Portable on Sundays. I'm going to do a max link run of the female route, because that's one I've never done. So,
oh, you'll have fun. Max Link route is, of course, as adventurous as ever, but I think you'll like that route. Although there's one social link that I'm sure you know that is not great.
Yeah.
But yes, good to have a Persona Week to talk about these spin-offs that have just fantastic soundtracks. Just one of our favorite franchises. Love to listen to this music and tell you about it. And that will do it for us this week on Original Soundchat. You can find me on Twitter at PeteSpeakeasy. Joe is over at String Pixel. The video version of the show is on the Rhymes with Asia YouTube channel, but it's that MP3 podcast version that you want, and that's hosted by Anonymous Dinosaur at anondino.squarespace.com. It's where Joe's other podcast, Smasherpieces, is hosted. And you can find Smasherpieces and Original Soundchat wherever you get your podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, even on Spotify, where we have a podcast feed of episodes, but we also have a playlist on Spotify, where if we talk about a video game track on this show, and it's on Spotify, it gets added to this big monster playlist. Joe, anything being added this week?
Both of these games are on Spotify. All of the Persona series is on Spotify except for one, for some reason. One is the only one that's not there. 2 is there, I found out recently.
Mm-hmm.
It's bizarre. But yeah, all of these, an arena. I guess the original arena is not on there either for bizarre reasons, even though Ultimax is. But yeah, both of these are gonna show up. Well, some of the Strikers songs are already on there, but not all of them.
That's true. We'll add some more there. And when you're done listening, you can find the show on social media at Soundchat OST, where you can leave some feedback for us. How are we doing with these episodes? What missed the critical 5 that you would have put there? Also, give us some suggestions for games to cover in the future. All right, Joe, who are we talking about next week?
Well, we're not talking about anybody in particular, I don't think, because it's our 4th anniversary episode. This show has been going for 4 years as of next week.
Oh my goodness.
We've been doing Smash games, and originally the thought was, oh no, we've run out of Smash games. But nah, we're going to go backwards, and we're just going to do Melee.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun.
It's still a great soundtrack. It'll be worth talking about, and I think it's fitting, at least until we hit 5 years. I feel like 5 years, we got to do something with a critical 5 of something. 5 critical 5s? Who even knows at this point? That's still another year away. All right, Joe, let's play us out.
I mean, obviously Daredevil is what I was going to find cover of. I wanted to find one of Counter-Strike, but unfortunately nobody has done a cover of Counter-Strike, which is a crime, by the way. Get on it, please, I beg you. But Daredevil's still pretty good, so I'll take that too. And this one is by Gill Studio is the channel name. And it features an artist named Line in fancy brackets. And yeah, they did a cover of Daredevil. It's a even harder rock version, kind of. And I think it's really, really good, so enjoy that.
Thank you so much for listening this week on Original Soundchat. We'll see you next time. Take care.